borderline personality disorder and the confusion with being diagnosed. I really wanted to come on here and I mean, you guys know if you guys have seen the first few videos on this channel or even some of the shorts that we've made so far, the biggest goal for me is to just come on here and kind of talk about my own experiences and my own stories when it comes to mental health and just wanting other people to know that they can be heard as well and just feel relatable to other people. And I guess in a way, it's kind of like a bit of a cry out for help and to just see if other people can relate to me and hopefully helping others when it comes to being relatable to them as well. So, um, I really wanted to come on here and just kind of talk about borderline personality disorder and being diagnosed with it. And the biggest thing for me is just being confused. The last few months, I have been super confused with borderline personality disorder. It is something that it's completely new to me. It is something that I never really knew much about before being diagnosed. So I was diagnosed in November. And so it's been almost a year, which is kind of insane. And to say that it hasn't been a rough road would be wrong. Since being diagnosed with it, it's been pretty rough to kind of really just fully grasp and like understand really everything about it. I don't think I ever will. I don't think I'm ever going to fully understand everything about it or fully understand myself is kind of like the biggest thing. But I've really tried over the last few months to just do my best when it comes to research or just trying to be a little bit tapped in with my emotions a little bit more. It's never worked. I've never been somebody that's been tapped in with how I feel or really be able to like express it and know my emotions. And when I was first diagnosed, after meeting with the doctor so many times right afterwards and talking about medication, talking about, they mentioned like DBT, dialect behavioral therapy, and just kind of trying to go over options with, how to see if I can manage it. And outside of that, there's a car coming. I am parked on the side of a road right now. I have no idea who would be driving by, but I'm in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of a dark dirt road right now. So I'm just hoping no one, no one gets concerned. Um, but yeah. So when I was diagnosed in November, I talked to my doctors, talked to one of the local therapists at the mental health intake place, and just after them kind of explaining like what borderline personality disorder is and how it really affects somebody and how it kind of starts with somebody, that's kind of where the confusion started because like I said, I've never been tapped in with my emotions. I never really fully knew much about my emotions, but when they kind of talked about, you know, childhood trauma or an extremely traumatic experience while you're growing up, um I was like, man, like I see I've been extremely blessed to never have to deal with that. I have an incredible family, an incredible support system. I never had to go through any childhood trauma with family or witnessing anything insane like that. And then and I told or the therapist that, and they said, okay, well, it can start from just being genetics. And I was like, okay, well, people in my family aren't familiar with borderline personality disorder either. Some of them might have it because some other people do struggle with mental health, but they wouldn't know because they don't go and get diagnosed with things. So other people in my family probably do have BPD and they just wouldn't know. So it's not like they would have ever had a chance to do any research on it either. And so I I would say right after that I kind of just started to think like, where could this have started? Like I understand like part of it is probably like genetics, and you guys are going to hear me turn on my car every once in a while. I just want to make sure the light does not turn off. Um, like I said, I understand some of it is probably genetics, maybe all of it, to be honest. But I really wanted to kind of like narrow down, maybe where would this have started, or where would some of this have begun? And kind of the biggest conclusion I kind of came to is my school, my area that I live in, my school experience, like high school experience, and just how awful it was. Um, I think going through like junior high was some of the toughest years of my life, probably just like, going through puberty, trying to meet new people, trying to meet new friends, girls, just stuff like that, like trying to build relationships, trying to build friendships, meeting new teachers, all while puberty was kind of settling in and also being diagnosed with other mental health problems at the time. It was extremely tough. And the more I look back on it, the more I realize, like, wow, like, I do think that's where a lot of things started with like just the experience of school and the experience of being around some horrible people and like the community that I live in and the area that I live in. Like, I am blessed, and there's a lot of pros about where I live because I live in the middle of nowhere, and I don't have to worry about a lot of awful things that happen in the world. It's a very safe place as far as like, no violence, no um, disasters, like natural disasters or anything like that. I never have to worry about that. And I am extremely, extremely grateful for that stuff. But as far as the people that are around here and the environment of people and how people have created this area and created school that I went to, I come from a very ignorant place, a place full of people that are extremely, extremely ignorant, a place full of people that I would say like 95% of the people here I do not like at all. And it's not anything personal necessarily. It's just more of like, I know what they probably think about things, or like I know how they probably act about things, or like 95% of the people here, I guarantee I could never um, be open about anything like this. Like when I started this channel, one of the biggest things I was scared of is like, oh my God, I really hope no one from where I live finds this channel. Like, I don't want them to see that I'm talking about mental health on here. And it's been so tough for me to kind of like come to terms with like that mental health and struggling with mental health is not a bad thing, and like trying to feed into it rather than um, trying to avoid it, and more of like an acceptance type of way. Like people, like I said, people from here would probably not accept me because of um, the struggles that I go through. And it's just always been an awful feeling that, like, I remember going to school, and this might be part of the reason why I am so quiet and I'm so, um, like I shrivel up and I don't show my emotion a lot of the time, and why I feel so numb is I can remember being at school and just, like, I'm not someone that cries a lot now unless it's something that's extremely, emotional. I think a lot of it is just because I hold it in so much. Like I hold in that emotion so deeply and it doesn't get shown. And the emotion that I do show is just numbness. It's just sadness. It's just depression. And because those other emotions are just pushed down in, and like the way that it's expressed through me is just by being numb. And I think a lot of that is when I was in school, I can remember like being a little bit more emotional as far as like if someone did something, not maybe not even to me, but like if somebody did something or said something, they would know that it bothered me type of way. You know what I mean? Like they would know that I didn't really like that, or like I didn't really like it, made me extremely uncomfortable type of way. And teachers were the same way. We had a school full of some awful teachers. Like I when I graduated, I probably had two teachers that I enjoyed at all. Like all of the other ones I fucking hated. And like a lot of it was the way they treated kids. Not in like an abusive way, but just they did not give a shit about kids. Like, they didn't give a shit about, they were just there to work and like leave. And like, I can't blame them, but like, they're also trying to shape the future of this community, this environment that we live in. And I just always felt like that was never met at that school and by those teachers and by those people there. Um, like I said, this area is not a very accepting area with so many things. And I guarantee mental health is at the top of that list. If any man around here ever found out that I was a man struggling with mental health and trying to talk about it, I'm telling you, I know that I would not get treated anything good. I know that even if people didn't say it, they would think it. And like I said, when I was in school, I can remember times where I would maybe be a little bit more emotional, or like I would maybe be more in a group that was emotional, or I would maybe see other people that felt the same way that I did get not bullied. And like, I was never one to get bullied. Like, I was always the quiet kid in the back of the class, never put my hand up, never spoke out in class, never nothing. I just sat there and just wanted to get through the day and just wanted to get home because I hated being there. I hated the people there. I hated the teachers. I hated the environment and just everything about it. And I can just remember, like, just if there was times where people were a little bit more emotional, or if there was times where maybe I felt a little bit more emotional, like, there was so many people that would just give you this bad look, like, oh, you're such a bitch, like, you can't cry, like, you shouldn't be crying, like, come on now. And I know that's just kids, but like, that's, if I have to like guess about anything, like, that's probably a big reason why, like, I'm so scared about things, is like because of my experience at school and my experience around people when I was younger, and the experience around a lot of those people even now, and why I fear being around anybody or anything like that. Like, I can remember a lot of the quiet kids at school back when I was there, like, would get picked on for being quiet, and people thought they were weird, and like a bunch of other words that I probably shouldn't even say. And I always remember thinking back then too, like, well, like, I'm the same way. Like, I feel the same way they feel. And like, I think the same way they think about stuff. No one ever said anything to me directly like that. Like, they would never like say like, "Oh, he's weird. Like, that's a weirdo over there." Like, blah blah blah. But like, and I'm very happy they didn't. But I I just always thought like, oh my god, and that's kind of like where the paranoid feeling of like, oh my god, what's people thinking of me type of thing, or like, what's people really fully thinking, and like always needing reassurance with stuff, which comes back to the BPD stuff. And I just, like I said, I just wanted to come on here and see if there's anybody out there that maybe feels the way I do with being confused about BPD and their diagnosis, and goes in this spiral of like, where did it start, um, type of thing. And like I said, 90% chance is it's genetic, and it was going to happen regardless. But I just kind of wanted to come to a conclusion on maybe why, or like if anything fed into it or like ignited the flame type of thing. I don't know. I just wanted to sit here and, like I said, a bit of like a cry out for help. Um, I just want to see if there's other people out there that can relate, or if there's anyone else that feels the way I do, or goes through the experiences that I go through, or is confused about diagnosis or being diagnosed with certain things. Um, but yeah, I want to more so make some of these like smaller videos and just kind of like question things and just kind of talk one on one, whether rather than like the big story times that I had in some of the other videos. And I guess this was kind of a bit of a story time with the school stuff, but a lot of that stuff is more of like, man, I could sit down and just talk about experiences a lot of the time because I never get to anywhere else. Like, this is the only time that I ever feel like I can, because in my mind I'm just talking to myself. I'm just talking to a camera. I'm not talking to somebody directly, and I can't like visualize their reaction. So But yeah, I just wanted to ask you guys about borderline personality disorder. If there's anyone that knows more about it than I would, or would want to ask me questions on what I've learned or what I might feel, um, please comment down below. Make sure to subscribe. I want to talk more about so many other things on here and just talk about our experiences in general, people that struggle with mental health. And like I said, I just want to be relatable to other people. And if there's any way that I can help others, I want to. And if that's through expressing my own experiences, then so be it. So I guess we'll see you guys in the next one.